So I'm just getting accustomed on how to add video or audio to the videos, and I'm experimenting. This is a stretch of road that I usually used to go to work to or to work on, and it runs about 20 miles of beautiful riverside view in conjunction with some nice curbs and some nice steady straightaways. At times it is heavily patrolled by the police. At other times it's not too bad at all. And a lot of bikers travel this route, especially in the nice weather seasons. In the wintertime, it's pretty much impassable on a motorcycle. That was the last turn on the left to stay in town in Muscatine. Not really sure what to say because, like I said, this is an experiment and I'm trying to get used to using a microphone. Shortly, I'm going to get a GoPro media mod in order to be able to put the audio directly in, because as I'm writing it, I can think of a lot more things to say than when I'm just trying to watch the video and figure out what to say. There's a couple of spots in this video where I turn off the video briefly to pass vehicles and turn it back on right afterwards, not knowing how the passing is going to go. But next time around I will leave all that in, because it's usually pretty exciting when I'm passing vehicles on this road. There's some real tricky areas that you got to be careful and know what you're doing. Otherwise you could end up hitting some oncoming traffic. That's the Han Geneva plant on the right that we're passing. Everyone pretty much considers this curve right here as leaving Muscatine on Highway 22. There's some really fancy, nice houses on the left that I don't get too good a view of on the camera, but there's some really nice houses. There's also some riverside houses that are currently flooded. Well, not exactly flooded. The floodwaters have risen on the Mississippi to about 3 feet below the decks of each of these houses on the right. They're all on stilts so that they can handle the high waters. This area floods almost every year, and until about a week ago, this road was stopped right after whatever the hell town it is coming up. There's just a couple little towns to pass through, and you have to slow down to 40 miles an hour in the first one and down to 35 in the second one. The second one is Montpelier, Iowa. The first one, the name escapes me, but it shouldn't because I drive through it all the time. There's also a handful of riverside parks that people can camp out in. The one that is our destination today is Buffalo Shores in Buffalo, Iowa. This is a very high deer crossing area also. This whole stretch of road, you can encounter deer anywhere along it between sunset. Well, around sunset and sunrise are the most prevalent times to find deer here, but there's other times of day that it can be a little dangerous too. Usually in the height of day, the deer tend to stay away from the road. But as the sun gets closer to the horizon, it gets more and more dangerous. There's a few fields on the left-hand side in the direction that we're going right now that actually have a shitload of deer that gather there. Sometimes you'd think there was like a deer concert going on or something, because I've seen up to 50 to 100 deer in a couple of the fields. And I was just wondering what the hell was going on there, like if they were having a deer convention or something. You only get occasional glimpses of the river on the right-hand side during the videoing, but if I would have had a helmet cam instead of mounting it to the handlebars, then my GoPro would have been able to get some more footage of the Mississippi. I really don't know what to say because this is a new thing for me, and as I said, experiment. I'm not yet used to speaking on the videos and having them subject to review, so we'll see how this goes. That park on the right that you can see I'm passing now is flooded out except for about a dozen spaces. The river was still really high when I took this trip a couple days ago. At Buffalo Shores, they have the park closed down. It's roped off so that you can't get to the back sections of it. I probably could have with my motorcycle, but I didn't want to push it and have the rangers get on my ass about it. There are park rangers that patrol all these different parks, and there's at least one cottage or small house that a ranger lives in at each one of the parks. In my opinion, the rangers have it pretty nice here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see with the resolution that we're putting this in, but the town sign that we just passed is the marker for where you go to 40 miles an hour in this little area. There's a really good restaurant that used to be called the Chart House that is coming up dead ahead just as we're going into this curve. That last big building that you see there on the right is where that restaurant is. Somebody's currently running it under a different name, but it used to be called the Chart House. There's also a fish hatchery right there. That's a pretty cool place to go by, and you're accelerating up to 55 in this area. And then there's a set of curves that says 45 miles an hour right there that I almost never slow down to 45 on. I usually take it at 55 to 60, which I know is probably pushing it, but it's fun. I enjoy a good set of curves as well as a good long straightaway. And this set of curves ends with a nice straightaway. This is the section where the river was up over the road just a few days prior and had been underwater for weeks. If you kind of look in the ditches, you can see how high the water still is. It's almost to the road there as it stands. Within the next few weeks, that water will go down and disappear. But we've had so much rain from all the adverse weather going on around the country that it's just been really unreal as to how along this road was closed. Usually the road closure is about mid-April to mid-May, but the rain came late this year and lingered for July and or June and July. So mid-July was the reopening of this section of road. The alternate route was Highway 61, which is up the hill to the left, about 5 miles. Coming up on the left where you see the roads start to curve to the right is the entrance to Wildcat Den, known for actually having cougars from time to time, but they do try to keep control of them. That way they don't go eating people. There's the sign for it, and there's the turn for Wildcat Den. There's a little housing section on the left end right here where a bunch of people have some decent houses that are really convenient to get to the river from. Although I don't envy them, because that means there's a massive amount of bugs certain times a year, and I could do without bugs biting at me. After this straightaway, there's a rise and curve to the left, and then we go over a small bridge and down to the right and then to the left again, and then we'll be in Montpelier, Iowa. There used to be a power station in the curve section. Power station was along the river to the right of where we start to curve left. The road actually goes, there's a turn that goes right off of this road, which is right about I must have missed it. Nope, there it is. That road goes down to where the old power plant was that they recently tore down. I believe Cordova is supplying the power now to that area, but I'm not sure. That would be Cordova, Illinois power plant. Time of evening that I traveled this road for this video was about 8 o'clock at night in the summertime, so I had ample sunlight, but as you can see, things were starting to get a little bit dark. I'm going to do this again in full daylight and with the mic on me instead of putting the microphone track later. I still have to figure out how to do that, but I think once I get the GoPro media mod, I'll be able to do it with no issues. Be careful not to blink more than 2 or 3 times or you might miss this town. Montpelier, Iowa. Speed limit's 35 and they mean it. There's a cop station right here on the right coming up, and the cop usually is around town watching for people to come speeding through here. Almost every time I come through this town, I see that the cop has someone pulled over. And there's a historic train station there on the left that they have a train car from the trains that used to run through that area, but they no longer run through there. The train runs on the track that you can see elevated to the right on the other side of the ditch. There's also some houses down along to the right that you can't see on this video, where people were having to take little boats, like John boats, to get to their house from where they park on the streets. Not exactly my idea of fun, but if they want to, that's their prerogative, right? There's a plant coming up on the right that's actually a Barsol manufacturing and receiving facility. They take in all kinds of products and send out all kinds of products, but I don't know what because I've never worked there. That would be the facility you can see on the right now. And I noticed there's a really nice looking Harley Davidson that parks there a good portion of the time, but I'm not sure who owns it. And if you like roads that go up and down like roller coasters, this little section of road here after the plant and before you get to actual Buffalo, Iowa, there's several rises and dips in the road. There's also a police officer that likes to hang out on the right-hand side on these little side streets, side roads and paths, and catches a lot of speeders on their way home or on their way to work. I used to take this section of road almost every day in my pickup truck, but it's just not quite as fun in a pickup truck as compared to a motorcycle. This trip was done on my Sportster. My Sportster is named Sport Chop because it is now a fully modified Sportster chopper that only has a couple of steps left until I consider it completely done. It's still sporting a 883 motor, but it's modified to stage 1 and has some extra accessories that give it some additional power. Pretty soon I'm going to be putting in Daytona Twin Tech TC88A ignition module and single fire coil, which will increase the performance even more. It's currently sitting about 60 to 65 horsepower with about 50 miles to the gallon still. And coming up on the right, we have the entrance to Buffalo Shores, where I just dip in long enough to turn around, basically, and I get a little bit of a clip. There we go, turning into the park. I get a little bit of a clip of where the water's at, but not an extremely good view because I didn't like sit and park and swivel the handlebars back and forth like I should have. And again, I don't have the helmet cam set up because it's against the law to run that around here in Iowa, and even though some people still do, I don't like pushing it, and I also don't want my head ripped off by a camera. So I stick to the basic helmet, but it is a full face flip open type helmet since I wear glasses. And that's just about it, folks.